this manner, Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, oh, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.
Dude, it's Wednesday. You know we up right here on the Hit the Mark on the On Your Mark show, right, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. Live from the Fishbowl Radio Network. It's up, man. What it do? We're back in the building, man. Got a special guest today. My guy, Coach Marcus Stiggers from Greedy U. This is one of those guys that you want to know about. Parents and players, you need to listen up. There's going to be some gems dropped today. Of course, we're live from the Fishbowl Radio Network every week right here on Wednesday. Coach, talk to me, man. How you doing, first of all, and I appreciate you giving me your time.
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you, you know what I'm saying, having me on. First of all, let me say that intro was fire. I don't know
really?
who that was,
Yeah,
but that intro was
Shout
fire.
out to my guy, Man and Mikey out the H-Town.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you for stopping through. But what I like to do with guests is, kind of give your backstory, especially coaches, where you play high school ball at, collegiate, professional, and how you got into coaching.
So I attended high school at Lake Highlands High School in Richardson, where I was a quarterback, and then I ended up going to the University of Colorado as a receiver. And after that, I got a chance to go to a couple of camps with the Commanders now, and I guess I just kind of told my age, but
absolutely
the Commanders and the Cowboys. And then after that, I had kids, and football was over with for me, and I got into coaching, and when I got done coaching, that led into kind of what I'm doing today, what I'm saying, which is working with kids and athletes on whatever sport. I even have my youngest daughter, she's a gymnast, and Sage comes and she gets her work in with us every now and then. So just working with all kids, all sports, no matter what.
Absolutely. Well, I think, I had a chance to go to a Greedy U workout over the weekend over at Lake Highlands High School. And when you see these type of things going on, parents and players, this is the type of things that you have to do to prepare yourself for Friday nights when we're talking high school, and even Saturday nights. There were college guys in attendance. And getting those type of intrinsic skills and developing that skill set out of what you do in a team setting is what you guys do at Greedy U. Now, talk about Greedy U and what was the genesis of you guys creating that.
Well, Greedy U is it's a mentality. It's just the origin of it is taking something with a negative connotation and turning it into something positive. And when we got a lot of these kids, these athletes together, a lot of it was just trying to instill in them to get everything that they could and do everything that they could, however we could stress it, to be whatever it is that they want to be. And our goal is to give them everything that we can give them to make them the best version of themselves. So that's kind of where Greedy U started from, and just making sure that that's the push, and not just, for the kids, the athletes that we deal with, boys and girls, it's, for us as well. So, I push, I go hard. So the expectation is the same for those. And if you plan on getting to the next level, no matter what level it is, if you plan on getting to the next level, we believe that being greedy and having a greedy attitude is the way to get it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Greedy U is an explanation in itself. It's a mentality, it's a mindset. And from watching you guys work, you try to instill that in those kids. When they're there, greedy. You have to be greedy with everything you do when it comes to being successful. That's greedy on your job.
Absolutely.
That's greedy on the field.
Absolutely.
That's greedy off the field. You know, it's not just about taking that in one aspect and not doing it on the field. You know what I'm saying? Talk about that a little bit.
And so all of the kids that come in, we don't, necessarily verbally just come out and say, we're mentors, but that's exactly what it is, and that's exactly what greedy is. And it's not just what we do in between the lines. You know what I mean? A lot of these kids, we try to make sure we're steering them in the right direction. Everybody has dreams and everybody has goals, but you got to make sure you got the right circle and the right people pushing you in the right directions, and we try to do that as well. And so again, it's not just on the field; it's in the classroom. It's getting jobs when you go to work, whatever aspect of life it is. You know what I mean? Just trying to get everything you can to be successful and succeed.
Right. Well, I think we had a chance to kind of chop it up a little bit before the show comes on. The things that you guys are bringing to the table, you have to do these things in order to be successful on Friday nights, in order to be successful on Sundays and Saturday nights. This is what you have to do. The days of you not getting specific work, whether it's what you guys do or whether it's positional, you have to do these things to be elite. The elite are working.
Yes,
they're
sir.
not just laying there and waiting for Friday nights when it comes to the high school level to get this work. To be great at what you do, you have to be greedy. So talk about that.
That's definitely true. The bottom line is sitting around ain't gonna get it. Mm-hmm. And I think at some point we turn some corner to where, a lot of our athletes, or you hear people saying they're entitled or whatnot, and it takes a different type of athlete to get up, to make your mind up that you want to be great. And it takes these types of things, like you have to push you have to push yourself to the unknown. If you want to be great, you got to be willing to go the extra mile.
Right.
And those guys that are elite, you know what I mean, you must and have to know that that's what they did. Right. And that's our push. You know what I mean? The kids can tell you all the time where they want to be and where they want to end up. You know what I mean? And it's my job, our job. You know what I mean? My brothers that do this with me. It's our job to try to help them see that through.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the a prime area when it comes to athletics in any sport in the DFW area. We're talking about that a little bit. And where you guys are, getting these athletes up to speed is in a prime area in DFW. And that's the thing that you have to do, is you have to understand that. And we're talking about the parents being able to have access to this. Now, you get a chance to talk to these parents on a regular basis, and they bring their kids to you. Talk about how you try to explain what you guys do to the parents and get them to buy in on this.
One of the main things that we emphasize with each other, us being me and Coach Jap, Coach Glenn, is that we either have to win the parent or we have to win the kid.
Right.
To get them to buy into what it is that we do.
Right.
And ultimately we want to get both of them to buy in.
Right.
But to answer your question, our job is making the athlete a better version of themselves. We get a lot of kids, no matter what sport it is, you can tell me what position you play, or you can tell me what it is that you do.
Right.
But there are a lot of things that must be handled to get to that point, being stability, being agility, quickness, you know what I mean? All of those types of things that are tangibles to being a great athlete.
Right.
We just believe that that's a part of making the athlete great.
Right.
And we not gonna bypass that.
Right.
We gonna get that part in.
Absolutely.
And in the in the end, like we just said, that's being greedy.
Right. Well, I think that's important in the landscape of athletics right now, and we're going to get into some other things, of course, the recruiting aspect of things as well. But if you're not exposed to this at an early age. We talked about this a little bit off camera. The early identification, from my standpoint, is it's getting a chance to see these kids early. And when I say early, we're talking about before they hit, high school, middle school. It's important. 6th, 7th, 8th grade. It's time to start getting yourself on the map. The days of you waiting until you're a junior in high school when it comes to recruiting, you can be behind if somebody don't know about you by then.
Oh, way
You know
behind.
what I mean?
Way
so
behind.
talk about how you guys try to get that across as well.
A lot of the time, first of all, let's get something very, very, very clear. These coaches at an early age, meaning at the middle school level,
Right.
their main job is teacher,
Right.
which means they go to class,
Right.
they come up with a lesson plan,
Right.
and then they get off of work. And some of those teachers end up being coaches. So
Right.
now they got to go grade papers and do all of that stuff when they get home.
Right.
It's required for the regular job.
Right.
They don't have a lot of time to help you become a great athlete.
Right.
They have a limited amount of time to do what it is that they need to do to get you, and that's all sports.
Right.
They have a limited amount of time to get you ready for, and then to top that off, there's 60, 70, 80 kids that signed up for athletics right there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so the emphasis is definitely getting them, making sure we're laying a good foundation. So again, getting back into just the movement part and making sure that we can move properly to where we can do whatever any coach is asking us to do.
Right.
So that's where we start at with that whole aspect, and hopefully, unfortunately, you know what I mean, we do get, athletes that come in late.
Right.
We got to hit the ground running, you
Right.
know what I mean? But hopefully, and that's our push, we try to reach out and get the kids at a very young age so we can start to instill those things early.
Absolutely. Now, the one thing that you pick up that you notice at a gritty workout is you don't just start with throwing the ball around. You try to work on things before you get to position specific things.
Mm-hmm.
How important is that? An athlete establishes a base from you guys' standpoint. You start with those things first before you even get to position specific things. You have to build. Everything in athletics is built from the ground up. The base, how you get, how you move. That's something that you guys worked on, from the beginning. Talk about that a little bit.
It's funny you asked that because, just a sidebar, we've had conversations and I've had multiple conversations with one of my other brother's family members, Clay Mack.
Shout out to my guy Clay Mack.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And one of the main things that we talk about is rhythm. You know what I
Right.
mean? And the bottom line is, like, if you can't dance, if you don't have rhythm, you can't dance. Well,
You can't play.
in sports, it's just a rhythm. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So we got to start there. Do you have good feet? Or do
Already.
you have two left feet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we got to make sure, that we line everything up with that athlete before you bring the ball. And my guys know, man, when they come, so you specifically said quarterbacks. When they come, you don't need that ball right now.
Right.
When we first start, you don't need that ball.
Right.
I need to make sure that you can, and it sounds crazy, but I need to make sure you can stand up straight. Then I need to make sure you got a good base.
Right.
Then I need to know that your base is stable. You know
Right.
what I mean? Stuff like
Absolutely.
that before we ever get to it.
Right.
I also tell my quarterbacks, you know what I mean? I heard, I saw, I know you can throw the thing,
Right.
but within the game, you don't get an opportunity to just stand there the whole time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Plays are called, things happen, and you're off platform a lot. So
Right.
those are the things that I emphasize, and those are the things that, we start with. We work on that type of stuff, being
Right.
able to escape, run, have good feet,
Right.
and still be able to do what we need to do.
Right. Well, that's the basis of anything. If you can't move, I don't think you can make a play. You know what I'm saying? And that's facts.
Period.
And then, you shout out to my guy Clay Mack. We've had him on the show in the past. We'll take it position specific. Most of your good DBs can dance.
They have
you know,
to.
They have to be able to
They
dance.
have to.
You know, if you can't dance, you can't move. You know what I'm saying?
Find out you can't
I think,
dance,
and,
it's
you
a
know,
problem.
if you can't do something on the dance floor, it's
get you
gonna
off the
be
dance floor, baby.
You're not gonna be playing.
Nah, you
and
gonna
that's
hug the
just,
wall.
You know, from a scouting perspective, that's just the way I think about things.
You gonna hug
You
that
know what I'm saying?
wall.
You're gonna hug the wall.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing these things intrinsically, you got to work on them. You know what I'm saying? You know, at you guys' workout, I saw you work on things that these guys are seeing before you even get to that, and that's what's the impressive thing, and that's what I wanted to bring up. You know, and explain that to parents and players before they even get to that. You know, the days of, you know, we talked about this a little bit off camera. You know, the days of just going out and slinging it around and doing things outside of a structured workout don't lead to success. You know what I'm saying? The elite guys, when it comes to, we're, you know, talking mostly about football, those guys are preparing for their time on the field, off the field, away from their team, you know, specific things. Those are the kind of things that Greedy U is doing, and that's why we got my guy Marcus Stiggers on the show today. Now let's take another step and talk about a little bit of recruiting. Recruiting has changed over the time. You know, since you were a player, you know, it's totally different.
Right.
You know, and you work closely with athletes and their families all the time. And the things that you do at Greedy, you align with recruiting, you know, because you have to be able to show and put this out in front of coaches to get that type of exposure. How do you kind of share that with those parents and players coming into Greedy U?
The first thing we got to do is make sure that there's an understanding that if that's the goal, if we're putting that energy out in the air, that energy's got to be fire.
Absolutely.
And you got to come with it. And the next thing is, in order to get there, we're going to help you do whatever we can to help you get to the next level.
Right.
And in recruiting, that's a big part of it, is what these coaches see.
Right.
And a lot of times it's not really, you know, that you had 100 catches for however many yards.
Right.
Sometimes it's, you know, who you know, what you know, and other things that you put out there.
Right.
And we have an obligation and a big opportunity to help that.
Right.
And that's how we feel at Greedy U. So, you know, we try to stress to the parents that, you know, we're going to do everything that we can to attract these colleges, these coaches. And so now, you know, things are starting to ramp up and pick up. So
right.
Hopefully you'll see a lot more and hear a lot more about us, Greedy U, and more importantly, these kids that we're involved with and helping them reach their goals.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we talked a little about this off camera. You know, the exposure piece is something that you can do and help yourself easily. You know what I'm saying? And those are the type of things that you guys are doing. You're exposing them to a competitive environment. And when you go to, you know, a college, you know, coming from high school, you're not aware of how competitive this environment is.
Yes,
and it changes, you know what I mean? And you guys are preparing those guys in a Greedy U workout, in a Greedy U setting. Talk about that a little bit, how you try to get that across to them.
Number one, in our workouts, I don't necessarily have we don't have groups, categories, or whatnot. You know what I mean? I have guys out there that are in the 3rd, 4th grade.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You put them right in the fire with the big boys.
And they get in the fire with the big boys.
Absolutely.
And the great thing about that is they see, you know, my nephews who are in college, they're in there working hard and giving everything they got.
Right.
So the little ones know that they got to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
And when I'm digging in on that little one, he see me dig in on the college dudes, because everybody can get it.
Right.
And we don't take any shortcuts. We don't, you know what I mean? We don't do all of that. So we intermingle them all. And then in the end, it becomes a natural, just organic competition, everything we do. And then, you know, naturally I told you earlier, we kind of like the Navy SEAL, man. We push, push, and we push.
Right.
But that's just, you know, and I'm pretty sure y'all can, and if you can't see, all of this gray hair I got on this beard, a little bit old school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So we're going to push hard, and we're gonna find out if you really want this, if you're going to go over there and ring that bell and tap out.
Right.
Or you're going to sit in here and you're going to put everything that you got into this.
Right.
And so when they look around and see all of these other people competing hard in drills.
Right.
you know what I mean, competing hard in whatever it is that we doing.
Right.
You know, that's ultimately that's what we trying to get out of them, and we trying to teach a mentality, you know what I mean, and an intensity that will help them at the next level, no matter what level that is, going from 4th grade to 5th grade, or going from 7th to 8th to 9th grade. You know what I mean, whatever level it is.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the genesis of how you get to the next level, is to put that mentality in there. And that's one thing you spoke about earlier, is trying to change the mindset, affect the mindset when they come to agree to you a workout. Talk about that a little bit, and the mentorship part of it as well.
A lot of these kids today, and I don't want to sound like Mr. Get Off My Lawn or anything like that, but a lot of these kids mentally are weak, and want a lot of things handed to them.
Right.
And we believe if you can make it through all of the things that we put them through and that we challenge them within a Gritty U workout session, you know what I mean, whatever you want to call it, our
right.
clinic, whichever route we go.
Right.
That's what our goal is. You know what I mean? We just make sure that mentality is definitely instilled in them off the muscle,
right.
man. We gotta have that.
Right.
We gotta have that. So, and again, that's not just for inside the lines. That's outside the lines. You know what I mean? Making sure that they're able to succeed in life, period. You know what I mean? And having good structure and having somebody there to push you. You know what I mean? Because in the real world, outside of these lines, when you get out there and you're on your own, nobody's gonna hand you anything. You got to go out there and get it.
Yeah.
And so we trying to help them, man, however we can.
Absolutely, man. Got my guy Marcus Stiggers in the building right here on the On Your Mark show, right from the Fishbowl Radio Network, from Greedy U. They get it in, man, and we're gonna let you know where you can find Greedy U here towards the end of the show. But I think it's important, like you said, is to try to change the mindset. You mentioned they want it handed to them on a platter. Sometimes they think that it's like that, but the thing that you preach, and I watched you guys motivate and try to instill that in these guys. This is going to work when you go in the workplace, because you guys also train adults as well. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you're not just limited to that. You train adults. You're trying to change the culture or the mindset of individuals as well.
Again,
talk
man,
about that a little
that
bit.
Starts with us.
Right.
That starts with us, the three that, you know what I mean, that's doing this thing.
Right.
If we're greedy about what it is that we're doing,
right,
then, you know what I mean, everybody else should follow suit.
Right.
So we're not just football trainers. I'm not just a quarterback or a receiver guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? We got girls, we got soccer players, we got basketball players, we got track people, we got regular people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I said before, we got gymnasts. We got all of that. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if we're greedy about it and we trying to reach and touch everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that mentality, again, it applies to everybody, every shape, form, size, every avenue. You know what I mean? Wherever you going in life, it just applies to everything.
Right. Well, I mean, in order to eat, you got to be greedy.
You got to be greedy.
You got to be greedy.
Not only do you have to be greedy, you got to show up and show out.
No doubt.
So you greedy. The mentality is to be greedy.
Right.
And to get it all. Right. And then when you come and you get it all at greedy you, then you go show up and show out.
Right.
That's what it's, and so that alludes to another question that you asked. It's not an overnight thing.
Right.
And nothing that, these athletes want or goals that they see, it's not going to happen overnight. Whether you're the kid that wakes up and has natural ability, right, or you're the kid that doesn't have a lot of ability.
Right.
If you put forth that effort, constantly. And so consistency is the key.
Right.
And that's, you know what I mean? If you're consistent, greedy about what you're doing, you got the right mentality about it, you'll be able to show up and show out.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing that you have to do. You mentioned consistency, the consistent work, the consistent effort to put into that. It's going to lead to success, but you got to put in that work. And then, like you said, it goes outside of the spectrum of just athletics. You got to be greedy when it comes to being, in the workplace. When you get out into corporate America, because you're gonna put your resume against everybody, and that's where it goes back to being that mentality, mental wise, that you have to put yourself in position to be successful. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing that you guys are preaching, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show this week, was to kind of, also tell their story, but also put that mentality out there, because, when it comes to being recruited, when it comes to getting the proper exposure, you have to be exposed to the right things and the right people.
Yes, sir.
Talk about that a little bit.
And so we come across a lot of kids, again, that, may come from different backgrounds or, different situations, and you have to have a circle around you. You have to have the right people around you that's going to help you. If you don't have people in your circle with the same mindset, the same vision,
Right.
you know what I mean, it's easy to get deterred and pulled away from whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Right.
And so, we try to surround, and that's why it's three of us. It's not just me saying that I'm Mr. Everything or whatever.
Of course.
The guys that I surround myself with that make up Greedy You, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's it's just hard for us to miss anything. So any of these kids that whatever the issue may be, whatever is going on around, we trying to spot it, help them, you know what I mean, and steer them in the right direction.
Absolutely. But I mean, that's the important piece, is to trying to steer them in the right direction, get them focused and prepared to go out and do this on Friday nights. We were talking about the high school guys. You had your college guys in there in the off season, they getting it in.
Mm-hmm.
But now they understand, because they've been off to college, what it takes to make it to the next level.
Oh yeah.
You can't just rest on that. You got to stay relevant. You know what I'm saying?
You have to stay relevant, with the understanding that, and especially like you said, the landscape's changed a lot,
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
whole lot,
Absolutely.
to a point where even in recruiting, it's not, back in the day, you sign a scholarship and you there for 4 years, you're there for 5 years,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's all, but you knew that's where.
Absolutely.
And today's not the same.
No.
You know what I mean? And even within that line, you always knew that, for me, specifically being at Colorado, you knew that they were going to go out and go find another 5-star dude to come in the next year.
Right.
And then the year after that, they was going to go find another 5-star dude to come in right after that.
Right.
Today, scholarships are not necessarily 4 years.
No.
You know
Semester
what I
to
mean?
semester almost
Semester
now.
to semester. So
Right.
if it's semester to semester, you got to understand that you should never be comfortable.
You got to be greedy all times.
You got to be greedy all the time. You have to.
Straight up.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's the mindset that you have to have it. But sometimes it has to be instilled into you. If you don't have that naturally work ethic, it's got to be instilled into you. You have to be around the right people. And dogs they travel in packs. Wolves travel in packs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Birds of a feather flock together.
Yes, sir.
And those type of things, you have to put yourself in position to do that. And that also helps you to get to the next level as well. And I think that's one thing that you guys are building and establishing over there, is to do that. You can't get there until you put in this work. And I think it's great that you guys mingle those college guys in there so that those high school kids can see what it looks like. Because if they don't see what they have to prepare to face, they don't know.
Absolutely. I know, even for me, I was told coming up, a lot of times the little kids that looked up to me when I was even in high school,
Right.
It just meant everything to them just to be close, or just to be able to actually reach out and touch you.
Yeah, a glimpse. Yeah.
And it's right there. I can feel them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
To have those college guys there, the younger guys, that's where they want to go.
Right.
And to see them, their work ethic,
Right.
which is with us is
It's turned.
It's all the way turned.
Yeah.
The expectation is
Absolutely.
through the roof.
Right.
But for those younger kids to see them respond,
Right.
and it makes them respond.
Right.
And it trickles down to, even, like I said, the fourth, third graders that we have.
Right.
The kids that are really, really young.
Right.
Kids that have never been pushed.
Right.
That have no understanding what that means.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To have those college guys there
Right.
to show them, college guys and girls.
Absolutely.
My niece is a soccer player. She just graduated from San Angelo. So to have somebody there that they can see that's doing it or done it and that they can touch.
Right.
That also has, and we're, we're always evolving.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to have somebody that they can touch, that can also give their insight.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Firsthand. I went to college and it was years ago.
Right.
But we got people there that can lend information. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
At any time.
Well, you have to have access to that, you know what I'm saying, and make yourself available to receive that. And those are the type of things, that we talk about weekly here on Your Mark Show, is to try to get you, exposed to, when we're talking to the parents, to get to the players so that they can know the right avenues to take to get there. It's levels to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's steps to get there. It's not done overnight. It's not something that you can just wish upon.
No.
You know what I mean? This is down, muddy, in the boots on the ground type of work that you have to get to the next level. You've already done that as a player. Now you're giving back and showing these kids and giving them the recipe for success through Greedy You. And that's one reason that I wanted to have you on the show today, was to talk about that, because we want to educate and elevate every time we pick up a microphone, to do that, to give it to the public, to give you the game. You know what I mean?
So what I do want to, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this. So one of the biggest things for us at Greedy You, or our why, is because, as I mentioned earlier, I got into coaching. I was exposed to some things.
Absolutely.
I didn't have nowhere near the stuff that I'm doing now to help kids.
Absolutely.
But a lot of that push came from football ending for me.
Right.
And really kind of coming to the realization that, okay, it's over for me.
Absolutely.
And I had kids.
Right.
And my oldest kids are twins, Marcus and Micah.
Right.
And I coached my son all the way through Little League football. And a lot of it was, all of the things that I was exposed to, making sure things that I know now and that I'm trying to instill in kids, I was already pumping that into this little kid.
Right.
My son ended up passing away.
Absolutely.
And so our why is really us just pouring everything we can. My brothers, and that was their nephew, they looked at him and they're coaching him as well. And so to have that loss, but now be able to pour everything that we were pouring in, to be able to still do that, because every time we get these kids that come in, that's who we see.
Right. That's absolutely.
That's who we see.
Right.
And that's how we treat it, like it's our nephew, or
Right.
it's my son.
Right.
And so we pour everything we can into each athlete that we get.
Right.
Again, my Clay Mack, my mentor.
Right.
Look, squeeze all the orange, squeeze all the juice you can out of that orange.
Absolutely.
Every time you touch down, you squeeze all the juice out there.
Absolutely.
And that's what we try to do.
Absolutely. Well, that's what, if you spend any time with Clay Mack, that's what you get out of it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a natural thing to pick that up from someone like that. Now, one thing he's big on is movement. You know what I'm saying? And we talked about this a little bit off camera. Talk about the importance of being able to move and how movement affects you on the field.
And I'm glad you said that, because I don't, even though I was a quarterback and I transitioned to being a receiver, I don't promote myself to anybody as I'm a quarterback coach or I'm a receiver coach.
Right.
I'm a movement coach.
Absolutely.
Greedy You is
It's about it.
about movement.
Absolutely.
Which applies to all sports.
Right.
And ultimately, if you can't move,
You can't play.
you can't play.
Absolutely.
Or if you can't move, the kid that can, that's who the coach is going to choose.
You're going to be on the sideline.
You will be on the other side of the thick white line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we use out there, Agree to You. You will
Absolutely.
find yourself on the other side of that thick white line.
Yeah.
So movement is everything, man, and that's where we start. If we can get the kids, the athletes, to understand that good feet, good movement, good eyes, good mobility, good balance, all of that stuff will eventually and ultimately make you the best version, or the better version of yourself before you ever get into what you're actually doing.
Right.
And so we make sure that we dive into that first. On the trainer side, I was told a long time ago, when somebody in training comes to you, naturally your first job is to assess that person.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so we assess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when I assess, again, naturally you're going to tell me, well, I'm a receiver and I want to run good routes and I want to go to Alabama. And it's my job, if you pay me to do that,
Right.
to do that.
To elevate you to that level.
To give you exactly, you pay me to run better routes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Okay, well then that's what I should do.
Right.
But what I know is you ain't got good feet, you can't dance,
Yeah.
you can't move.
Right.
So I got to give you what you asking me for,
Right.
but I also got to give you that stuff you ain't asking me for.
Right.
And I know that stuff you ain't asking me for, you need a lot of that.
No doubt.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you a whole lot of that. I'm going to make sure.
Yeah.
And you're not asking me for, but so we know that's what you need.
Right.
You know what I mean? To help elevate your game.
Right.
So we make sure that we catch and dig into all of that stuff as well.
Well, I think the proof is in the pudding, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I wanted to have you on today, because, I saw all of those things wrapped in those 2 or 3 hours, that I was privy to watching. You know what I'm saying? And I could tell, this is what you guys do, and it's one reason I wanted to have you on today. Shout out to my guy Jack Bridges as well.
Sir, it's my guy,
you know what I'm
big
saying?
bro.
Shout out Big Jack. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my guy Trajan and my guy Coda as well.
Yeah,
We're in the building. Some of those other guys, but you know what I'm saying? I would be remiss if I didn't talk to you about Colorado a little bit. Get your thoughts on the program. Of course, I love what Coach Prime is bringing to the table over there. I've immersed myself in anything Colorado they do. I watch the podcast. I follow Bucky, and I follow the kids. And I covered them when they were at Trinity. Actually coached against Coach Prime at Coach Truth when they were at Truth when I was coaching ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I've seen these guys grow from this level to where they are now. And I was a big Colorado fan coming up. Eric Bieniemy was one of my favorite running backs. You know what I'm saying? And still love Eric Bieniemy to this day. Darren Hagan and all those guys.
Sir.
I was, a big Buff fan. But the way that they have things going now, I think it's great for college football. But just talk about Colorado, being an alum, and what you think about the program so far.
I'm actually really, really proud, you know what I mean, of what's going on, happy about what's going on. Again, things and times have changed. With that being said, to go to Colorado and stay there, and I know in today's time, you have to transfer portal.
Absolutely.
And kids move around a lot, and there's no shade at anybody or no stones at, anybody whatsoever, but it just feels good to, say that I went to this school, and regardless of what was going on,
right?
You know what I mean? I wrote that whole thing out.
Absolutely.
And so it means a lot to see the program start to take a turn.
Right.
We were kind of in a good space when I was there.
Absolutely. National championships.
And it
Cordell Stewart.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
There's some great guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I was, around.
Right.
And we took a little dip. And it hurts to see your school,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it definitely feels 10 times greater to see the success that some of those guys are having, to see the school, the program start to grow and get as big as it's gotten.
Right.
And it's amazing to see, and I hope Coach Prime can keep that thing going.
Absolutely. I think they will. They got some guys coming in. I think shout out to Caden Salter. I think it's going to be big over there this year for those guys.
Yeah. My man from North Crowley.
Yeah. Oh, listen, you talking about Q.
Mr. Gibson.
Yeah, he goes.
Stop playing with him.
Man,
Stop
listen.
playing
with
him.
Shout out to my guy Q Gibson.
Yes, sir.
Yes, guys like us saw this coming. This is not new to us. You know what I'm saying?
Sir.
He just got his opportunity last year to show the nation, but I think he's going to do big things over there.
Real big
you know what I'm saying? Shout out to my guy Joe over there as well from Timberview. He's going to do some big things as well coming from Tulsa. So, you know what I'm saying? I think Colorado's in a great position. But, before we get out of here, I know you're close to the Lake Highlands program still as well. And we've been talking about some of those guys off camera. I think that Lake Highlands, is coming with it this year. They might be a sleeper coming out of that area. Talk about what you've seen for Lake Highlands so far.
We deal with a lot of guys, from a bunch of different schools. But like you said, because of my roots and foundation or whatever is at Lake Highlands, we keep a good track on those guys anyway.
Right, absolutely.
I think they're going to be a nice little sleeper.
Right.
There's some guys that I really, really would like for y'all to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
Christian Rose, who is committed to SMU.
Absolutely.
Holden Lane, he's a defensive player. He's going to be a junior.
Right. Big Bush.
Yeah. He's a lineman.
Yeah.
He's going to be a junior. Deuce Black is a linebacker. He's going to be a junior. Mason Spangler, my man's going to be a baller. So they got some guys over there to watch that's going to make some noise and whatnot. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they gonna do this year. So I think they'll shock a few people.
I think so too. I had a chance to watch them a little bit last year, and really the last couple of years. Going back to when we talked about Deontay Dean,
yes, sir.
And some of those other guys a couple of years ago that have finished. But Christian Rhodes is probably the most well-known guy over there. I think that these guys got a chance to make some noise in the playoffs. It's like I said, it's only sleeper because people don't know about it. You know what I'm saying? But I think some people gonna know about Lake Highlands this year. You know
Hopefully
what I'm saying?
they will. Hopefully
Absolutely.
They lost a lot of good players. One of their top players is gone. One of our guys, Aiden Webb. You know Aiden Webb?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah.
Aiden's going to Oklahoma State.
Right.
They lost, some good pieces, but I think they'll be able to fill those in. And like you said, they'll end up being a nice little sleeper.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you came up in an area where Texas high school football was prominent, and I think it's at its fever pitch now. Talk about Texas high school football as a general. You being a fan of football. We talked about a few things. When we were coming up off camera. I'm from Houston, so the thing about when I was coming up, it was playing in Astrodome. When you made it, to an extent.
Texas Stadium.
Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Now these guys play in Texas Stadium and the Astrodome every week in Texas high school football. Yeah. Talk about the state of Texas high school football from your perspective. What you think?
Are you referring to now or
now? Yeah.
Man, I just could not imagine being a part of Texas high. First of all, nothing better than Texas high school.
Nothing.
Football.
Get that straight.
Nothing.
That's for you boys in Florida, Georgia, California.
Nothing. If you want the best, and man, they can slide in here.
Yeah.
And sneak up in here.
You got to come to Texas and get the smoke.
Steal a win, maybe or whatever. But it don't get no better than this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Man, I could not imagine being in this environment right now,
right?
With the social media, with everything that comes with these stadiums,
right?
And the excitement of Friday Night Lights,
right?
Man, it's a whole
new ball game.
Yeah, it's a whole
absolutely.
And it was exciting back then,
right?
You know what I mean,
right?
Back when we were in high school, I mean, it was exciting then, but man, it's just more fireworks. And
it's a little more turn. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, man.
Yeah.
If you go on out there and put that work in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to show up, show out, and it's gonna come.
It's gonna click.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was in Salina Sunday working a camp. Playing in high school now, what you have access to, and being on the stage as you are. It's nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? And some guys don't get a chance to go to college, and you playing sometimes at a collegiate level in these playoff games. Look at the Duncanville and North Crowley game last year to Allen.
Yes, sir.
That was a a college atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? Then when you get to play in Cowboy Stadium at State, that's a college atmosphere.
Yes, sir.
And then some of these colleges don't have that atmosphere that we have in Texas. So it's nothing that can touch that. You know what I'm saying? We get privy to see this on a weekly basis in the state of Texas.
Yes, sir. Yes,
you
sir.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's part of that mentality, you know what I mean, that you're talking about, and we talked about earlier. Like for me, coming through high school, being able to, and we didn't have social media and all of this other stuff.
No doubt.
To be able to go to the playoffs every year.
Absolutely.
And go deep in the playoffs.
Deep. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a big
special.
deal. And that was real special. And that's
Right.
how people figured out who you were.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much about what you did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before you got to the playoffs. It
Right.
was, okay, now everybody want to go see who the cream of the crop is.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
But now, today, I mean, you
It's
look
week to
around,
week.
and then these matchups that we come up with on Friday nights, man, it's amazing. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's nothing better than the state of Texas. They wrote books and made movies about this kind of stuff. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, man. But that's a great way to end the show. Before we get out of here, appreciate my guy, Coach Marcus Stiggers from Greedy U coming out. Tell everybody where they can find you guys at on social media.
You can find us on Instagram at greedy.u, at greedy.u, and on Twitter, greedyu3. And the reason why it's a 3 because there's 3 of us, me, Glenn Johnson, Janafa Gibson, my dogs, my homies, my family. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Shout out to everybody else. Jack, Clay Mack, rest of the trainers out there. Much love, much respect. Man, that's what we do right here on the On Your Mark Show each week, live from the Fishbowl Radio Network. Right here, man, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. We'll get at you next week for Coach Marcus Stiggers. I am Mark Henry. It's going down. Shout out to my guy, Maynard Mike, who's going to take us out. We out. We'll holler at you next week.
Hey, this is Manna Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts. Really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in. I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men. The boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top. We doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world. You don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work. You see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first. We wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, similar to a razor blade. We gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.